announced our 10th project in Iowa. That brings us to more than 4,000 megawatts built over the last 10 years in that state. And at the end of 2016, we will now have 58% of our energy, approximately 58% of our energy that we provide to our customers coming from wind. We now have more than $18 billion committed to renewable assets across our different utilities. And if you look at NV Energy, our Nevada utility, for example, we've committed to retire 76% of their coal by 2019, and a large portion of that will be replaced with renewable energy. So clearly a continued commitment to that.
In our utility business, do you think we have more disruption to fear or more opportunity to love?
Yeah, distributed generation and solar bring great opportunities for all of our different utilities, and we'll embrace it.
The answer is you couldn't be luckier, is what I'm telling you.
One thing that has helped in this respect is that wind and solar, the development of wind and solar at present are dependent on tax credits. In other words, the federal government's made a decision that the market system would not produce solar or wind under today's economics, but it has an interest as a society in developing it, so they have established a credit. I think it's electric is 1.9 cents a kilowatt for 10 years. And because Berkshire Hathaway Energy is part of the consolidated tax return of Berkshire Hathaway Incorporated, it has been able to invest far more money than it would make sense to invest on a standalone basis. Among electric utilities in the United States, there's really no one situated as well as MidAmerican Energy is, because it's part of this consolidated tax return, to really put its foot to the floor in terms of developing wind and solar. So it's become the biggest developer by far among the utility industry, and I think it's very likely to continue to be, simply because most utilities really don't pay that much income tax, and therefore they're sort of limited in how far they can push development of wind and solar.
What was your most memorable failure, and how did you deal with it?
Well, we've discussed Dexter many times in the annual report, where back in the mid-1990s, I looked at a shoe business in Dexter, Maine, and decided to pay $400 or so million for something that was destined to go to zero in a few years, and I didn't figure that out. And then on top of that, I gave the purchase price in stock, and I guess that stock would be worth me, I don't know, maybe $6 or $7 billion now. It makes me feel better when the stock goes down because the stupidity gets reduced. Nobody misled me on that in any way. I just looked at it and came up with the wrong answer. But I would say almost any time we've issued shares, it's been a mistake. Wouldn't you say that, Charlie?
Of course.
Yeah.
We don't do it much anymore.
No. We probably could have pushed harder, particularly in the earlier years. We've always been, well, we've had all of our own net worth in the company. We've had all our family's net worth, and we've had all these friends that came out of our partnership, many of whom put half or more of their net worth with us. And so we've been very, very, very cautious in what we've done, and there probably were times when we could have stretched a little and pulled off something quite large that we made a mistake looking back. But I wouldn't want to take a 1% chance, of wiping out my Aunt Katie's net worth or something. It's just not something in life that I could live with. So I would rather be 100 times too cautious than 1% too incautious, and that will continue as long as I'm around. But people looking at our past would say that we missed some big opportunities that we understood, and could have swung if we'd wanted to go out and borrow more money. Charlie?
Well, it's obviously true. If we had used the leverage that a lot of successful operators did, Berkshire would be a lot bigger.
A lot bigger.
A lot bigger. But we would have been sweating at night. It's crazy to sweat at night.
Over financial things.
Over financial things, yes.
Well, we won't pursue that.